think it's so much the advice of his lawyer. I think, and seeing some of the text messages between Browning and Ray Gadd, Browning relies heavily on Gadd to, Ray Gadd is, well, he's just, in my opinion and what I've seen, I think he's just, I don't know how to say this nicely, so I just think he's a horrible human being. I really do. I think Ray Gadd is a narcissist. He thinks that he is wonderful. He loves how he writes and pontificates and enunciates his words. And Ray just thinks, Ray Gadd would never run for superintendent if he did, just because nobody would elect him. Nobody likes him. So he worked under Heather Florentino, and she fired him. We don't know why she fired him. Can't seem to find out. I find that interesting. And so then, Browning had brought him back in, and it appears to me that I hope that his time with the Pasco County School District is over, because he is nothing more than a bully, and the truth will come out. The light will come out. I didn't like the exploitation of the LGBTQ kids. I don't think that they should have secrets with parents.
No.
From parents. And Ray Gadd insinuated in a public meeting that I was a racist.
He also called you out and read your email out loud. That's what is
an email that it was pertaining to my son. He had a confidentiality attachment to it that apparently Dennis Alfonso had decided was okay for him to read it out loud, and it was to the principal at my daughter's school. She was at the time, her wife, who was the assistant superintendent of middle schools, and Monica Eyes, were sending Ray Gadd emails that I sent that he could take out of context to use in a school board meeting. That's what was going on. They were sending him emails so that he could take out certain paragraphs to do that.
Of course.
To try to make me look bad. And it just backfired.
It did. Because I didn't even, when he was reading it, I guess I missed who he was talking about. I was like, well, this email sounds legit. Like, it did backfire. I was like, I don't know what he's trying to say, but yeah, and it made him look bad.
Right, but they live in such a small circle, right? Because they don't want to hear anything else. I mean, we hear what the other side wants. We hear what the progressives want, what the moderates want, what the conservatives want. We hear from all parties. We don't live in a narrow-minded world. And Ray Gadd and Browning, they just, well, particularly Ray Gadd. I don't necessarily want to say Browning, because Browning knows to put on a show, where Ray Gadd,
no, he doesn't
even attempt.
No.
So I do draw a line. Yeah, I can't put Browning in that category, but it is disgusting. It's deplorable. It is, you have so many people from administrators. I have 4 people that are overseeing my children, engaged in such a manner to attack me and defame me, because I stick up, because I don't want any child exploited. I just want laws and rules followed. God forbid. I'm not asking for change. I'm asking that we follow the rules, the safety parameters. And Ray Gadd has done nothing but try to protect Karen Hetzler Nettles. Karen, I guess she goes by. And even he took a case with a federal judge. Karen Hetzler Nettles brought on Kyle Risma as assistant principal in 2017 at the brand new Cypress Creek Middle High School. And Mr. Risma was involved in a federal investigation through another district employee we had, William Napolitano, who was working at the district regarding child pornography and molestation of children. Mr. Risma worked with the district for a very long time, and I think it was over 10 years. And he was very good friends with Karen Hetzler Nettles and her wife, who is the assistant superintendent of middle school. Not a conflict, though. Marcy Hetzler Nettles. And Kyle was arrested and charged, and he had molested, I believe he came up with 5 children children. They know there's more victims. It's a sad situation. I have been in contact with some other people that say that inappropriate things happen with them, but they're not comfortable coming forward right now because of, well, one has other issues, another has another, and I get them, okay? Cal Risma tried to get his sentence. He was sentenced to 35 years in federal prison. Cal Risma, in court documents, was seeing pictures of children being raped or molested. And he actually, in the court documents, Cal Risma was walking around our school. He said, I'm walking around school with a Woody right now, just thinking about it.
Oh my God.
This is what goes on. And for Ray Gadd to sit there in the one meeting, he brought up that there was an opinion. He said that pedophiles that are arrested, it affects the people they work with.
Yes, I think that's what he said.
Oh, my blood was boiling. So Hetzler Nettles' bad decision, bringing in her friend Kyle, right? She's a victim. She's a victim. And then we're letting teachers give out surveys to ask them if they want to be secret sexual identities just with the teacher. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? And I made a comment to Monica Eyes about it. And I said, why would, after what happened with Cal Risman and other teachers, two people at that school, it's grand opening year, and arrested. And her response to me was, Monica Eyes told me, well, she loses sleep over that. She's very upset that that happened with Cal Risman. And I go, so then why would these surveys be appropriate? Where's the judgment? They're in positions of trust. You have no trust. I have no trust in you. As a professional, this woman should not be in charge of children. And through the year, we've seen the covered up and the scandals and them not doing their jobs for inappropriate actions with staff members and students at the school that involved illegal sex. Where's the police reports? What's going on? You don't know, but we'll find out. It's summertime. We have time. But Ray Gadd just wants to make Karen Hetzler Nettles the victim. And I refuse to allow her to be a victim of her own choices because she's an adult. She makes these choices, and these people are working over at that school. It's not acceptable. It's never going to be acceptable.
Nope.
And that woman needs to go retire. She needs to be done or go into another field where she's not with children.
And I hear that same school that your daughter used to go to, I hear a lot of issues that come from that school, not just what happened to you, but apparently there's lots of parents that are having issues with that school that are afraid of coming forward, right?
And that shouldn't be the case. Where's the partnership? She rules like a dictator over there, right? And she doesn't want to partner with the parents. She doesn't want to partner with the students. She feels that when you drop your kid off at that school, she's ultimately in charge. And I really tried her out with the Parental Bill of Rights this year, the new legislation that passed. And I didn't want her questioned alone without my knowledge or consent. And I'll tell you what, she did everything to try to do that with my daughter. And these are adults that are trying to manipulate my child into saying something they have no business. My daughter's a good kid. She never did anything wrong. These weren't they were just, it was a specific teacher bullying my daughter that I had filed complaints on with the Florida Department of Education and with the principal. They just didn't want to, they liked the teacher. She was a school, member of the club. And I just wanted my kid left alone. I just wanted her to learn, be taught, and not singled out. And, those domestic terrorist things that we do. So I just, the only way, it's a beautiful campus. It's a beautiful school, Cypress Creek. There's a staffing problem there because nobody wants to work under them, right? They can't get staff. And some of the staff that do work there, other principals wouldn't let them work at their school for due cause reasons, right? They have concerns. They don't want them there. And if you have a progressive mindset, you know that principal is going to take you over there with open arms at Cypress. And that's not representative of what demographics are of this area. So, a true superintendent of schools would care about making parents and the kids happy. His only concern is protecting Karen Hetzler That, and he allows her to bully parents and students. And we have parents pulling their kids out of the school. Charter schools are full. The other school zones are frozen. We can't school choice. And they're forced to pull their kid out of that school and homeschool their parent. Their kid is home. The parent would love a different option, but there's no more options with the growth and the development. There's nothing they can do. And I think that's horrific. And now they're going to ask for more money of our taxes to, for raises, but they could cut.
See, I went to an event the other day, and there was a speaker there that made a really good point. They weren't from Pasco, they were from Hernando, but they're dealing with the similar stuff with the referendums. But she said, if teachers are the number one priority in a school district, they should be the first thing on the budget. So where's the money going? They should be the first thing so you should be able to make cuts. So
absolutely. And that she's 100% spot on. And everything got paid, high admin positions, and we added all these new positions. And the teachers, where was the money for the teachers? The bus drivers. This wasn't a problem that just came about this year.
No.
It really wasn't. And they never seem to have problems creating administrative positions.
Didn't they just add? Sorry.
That's it. Our elementary school enrollment, I think it was 2,300 students less or down, because that's how many people don't trust the public education system. But now assistant superintendent for elementary schools retired, so then they replaced it with two superintendents for elementary school. I've taken a peek into Ray Gadd and what he does for like a week, and we do more than he does. And I understand why we're paying him all this money. His $10,000 raise he got in the last few years, maybe he could have given that, donated that to the schools that don't have enough jerseys for kids to go in sports.
Right.
Because these kids need to be, I feel that it's horrible that kids don't make the team because there's not enough jerseys.
Yeah.
Right.
Terrible.
Because I think especially in today's day and age, after COVID, these kids, if they want to do a sport and participate, why not? I'm not saying, everybody gets a trophy. I'm saying for activity-wise, for these kids to be off the social media and off the phone, now more than ever, we need these kids out and active. And I just think it's horrible the way the money's being spent. And if our enrollment's down for elementary schools, why do we have two? Why don't we replace one job with two people? It's going to be more expensive because you're paying more into retirement. You're paying more for insurance. You're paying. How did that didn't save our money. So that other position could have went maybe to support more bus drivers, right? It's just, look, I'm not a finance person. We have our finance people we know. Jim Stanley, who's been phenomenal.
Yes.
Kathy knows. So it's just, when you really look at it from a common sense standpoint, it's just like your own home, your budgets. The first bill, some people's priority is paying their rent or mortgage. Other people, maybe that's not their priority. So it's all in how you manage your. So first priority for me is pay the mortgage, right? And other people, it's not pay the mortgage. Well, then they risk losing their house, right? When they don't have enough money to pay their rent or mortgage.
Exactly.
And to me, the teachers are our mortgage.
Yeah.
And that should be I agree. It should be our first bill foundation. Nothing, you're not going to have an electric bill or water bill or, cable bill without having that house. And these kids need that support.
Yeah.
And how do we get good teachers to stay?
By paying them properly.
And promoting teachers, right? So we have a lot that don't get promoted. You get these younger ones that came out of college and they've maybe taught in the district for 5 or 6 years. And they're a progressive mindset, which is what Browning's district has been. And they get promoted, right? They get these positions. They apply for these positions and get them over teachers that have been with our district for over 2 decades.
Yes. And
have the knowledge, experience. I think that's horrible.
That is horrible.
What does that tell the teachers that have been doing this for 2 decades?
It's just disheartening. It makes you want to quit. Like, what am I doing here for? Like, I don't get the acknowledgement or the, what I should deserve, the pay that I deserve. And you have these new kids that haven't been here and they get paid more than me. I've been here for years. I would want to quit too.
Well, we have, and that's the problem. We've lost. I mean, when I know a lot of people didn't know Browning personally at the time, but they didn't care for him politically from his past political experience. They left when Browning came in.
Yes.
They didn't even want to deal with him. And I mean, we've all heard these stories. How many good educators, they've just either left the field entirely, retired because of Browning and his leadership in the district. And I think that's horrible.
It is.
And then we're getting in these new teachers, these progressive teachers. We're making them administrators and giving them positions by passing over highly more qualified people that we have a rapport with. And what's going to keep people at the district? I'm going to be the same math teacher for 20 years, and a person's going to come in 5 years, teach math, and next thing you know, their assistant principal, or they're this or they're that. I mean, that's really a slap in the face to those individuals. And I would like to see tenured administrators promoted, or tenured teachers, or people that have been in our system, promote from within. We know them. I don't think it's good to hire out.
No. We've seen what happens when we do that.
Well, I mean, sometimes they need the support and the help, but they don't seem to have problems going to these trainings and these. We've seen with the shortages with teachers, principals doing the jobs of custodians in other states, counties, and in Florida as well. And we have a shortage on math teachers and science teachers, yet we're sending our academic administrators to these trainings, right, in all these other states. Why can't they be in the classrooms helping our current kids here that need a teacher?
Exactly.
I mean, it's just common sense stuff. And so that's why I'm really hopeful that we'll get this new board put in, and we will have the voice back for the parents and the students and the teachers. We have the bus drivers. We know the pay has been an issue. The custodial staff, the pay has been an issue. These aren't new things, right? But like you said, they have not been a priority.
No,
they have. It's just it's horrible. And I think to raise our taxes, basically, we're just paying to continue with these administrative jobs. We're funding these administrative jobs and these low enrollment elementary schools that should be shut down. We do need to look at condensing, and just condensing that alone. How much money is it going to save to condense maybe 2 elementary schools? But instead, we're going to ask seniors and people that are on a fixed income to maybe not go out to eat once a week, or maybe cut back on medication because of the rising costs of inflation. Now they're going to be taxed more. You're going to ask them to cut their budget, yet you're not going to cut your budget.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? I think that's very wrong. And Lift Up Pasco, whenever I propose that to them, they won't answer.
Of course not, because it's not about helping teachers. Everybody knows that. I would love to do, if it would help, yes, I would be for the increase, but that's not what this is about. This is about making profit for the administrators. They don't want to lose the money that's going into their pockets. And it goes into everything that we've been talking about, these conferences that they've been going to, these grants that they've been getting. It has everything to do with the money and nothing to do with this community or the schools.
And that's why we're so mad, right?
Yes.
And frustrated. It's just, and people don't understand sometimes. It doesn't take long to figure out what's truly going on. And this isn't just with the school board, by the way. This is our county commissioners.
Yep.
These are our state representatives, our state legislators. Just the truth coming out that Amber Mariano opposed the parental rights bill, right?
Yep.
And Zika would never respond to, nobody could get a response from him. So it was disheartening. So there's new people running in those positions as well. And these are issues that we need to address with our state for our education and funding, not just for education, for our roads, our infrastructure, that money would be coming from the state to include our fire rescue. There was grant money available that our Pasco fire rescue could have received. And a member who's throwing a lot of money around here just ignored our local fire department at Tallahassee asking for money. just didn't even give them an answer, just ignored them. Wow. I mean, that says a lot. So once you find this stuff out, you really get upset, but get upset and take action by voting and paying attention to hold them accountable. If we could just get 5% of Pasco County to actively engage.
Yes. And I think it's also important to inform others, inform your friends and family, like just throw it out there. The truth needs to come out and people need to start paying attention, because if not, we're doomed. We
are. I agree. I spoke to somebody a few months ago and he was so upset with what was going on in our county. He had given up. He's moving to Panama. He said, I can't. He said, it's horrible what's happening. This county, people don't want to wake up and and he's taking his kids and he's leaving. And he said, I don't think there's hope. I don't think America can be saved. And I hear a lot of that. You know, if we can't continue to fight.
Well, what I say to that is like, wasn't it like a 10% people fought into the Civil War and won the Civil War? It took only like 10% of the population. So I'm saying, I think there is hope. We just have to get as many people as we can to gather up and do something to get activated.
And that's a good thing you're seeing in the primaries that are happening around the U.S. is, I mean, a fraction of the voters would only show up 14%. And you're seeing that number for the primaries is up. I mean, they're getting 2 to 3 times the primaries were before. People the super voters would have the say. And people didn't necessarily participate in the primaries. And now you see, wow, but you watched it around the last month in the primaries going on. I'm like, this is a good sign.
Yes.
Right. I mean, that they're getting out both sides, right? They're getting out, they're voting. It is interesting to watch how the primaries work in different states.
Yeah.
It's kind of, if they're not on the ballot, then the Democrats can vote for the Republican candidate or, vice versa. I'm like, well, that's kind of, thankfully our state doesn't work that way. But I think it's a good thing. And I think I'm hopeful that we can get more Pasco voters out to vote in this primary, because I know a lot of residents are beyond frustrated with that. They don't even have kids in the school. It's just they don't like the growth, the roads, the lack of law enforcement, traffic enforcement. They just don't feel safe. I mean, and a lot of parents are afraid. I mean, mine is starting to get a permit and drive. They're afraid of their kids being on the road because of how dangerous they are. And it's kind of like the Wild Wild West. Everybody's just driving absolutely insane.
Yeah.
Hit and runs. These people don't have insurance.
I'm afraid it's going to turn into Miami. I don't know if you've ever driven in Miami. That's what I'm afraid of.
Yeah. I mean, I would hate to see it. There was an incident with a young man, I think it was a few months back, was speeding down the road and ran into another car and killed both occupants. The young man was 16 or 17 years old. And then we lost it to the young man and woman who just graduated in a car accident a few weeks ago. And it's just heartbreaking to see this and see so many lives being lost just because of, I think people know there's no traffic enforcement. So they get very complacent. And I mean, I've seen people do donuts in broad daylight.
Wow.
By 54, 56 area. I mean, just break out and just circle and do donuts and then they go on their way. And it's extremely dangerous. There's people in cars sitting there. You see people in cars with young children. I see people in cars with their young children. Maybe a 2-year-old just wandering around the car, not buckled up. And I'm just going, and then I see him get on the interstate. I'm like, really? And they're texting and
I see that
driving.
A lot.
It's just pure recklessness. And it's just, I mean, there's nothing I can do about it. Well, I can vote, and we can do a lot better. And I think the community realizes that the last 10 years, things have just gone downhill in our county, and we need to change. And if the way to change is to get people to pay attention, I think we could get probably, if not double, I'm hoping we get triple the turnout for our primaries. And I know a lot of people are opposed to the tax referendum for the school district. And I hope that those people go out and vote. We're not voting not to have teachers have a raise. We want our teachers, bus drivers, and custodians
Yes.
to have a raise. We just want, instead of us to cut back on our fat, for the district to cut back on their fat.
And I think they know that if the vote doesn't go through, they're going to have to, because everybody's going to be like at their door knocking, like, okay, do your job now.
Well, they need to.
Yeah.
I mean, with all the money that they have, there's no reason why they can't cut some of these administrative. I mean, come on, we know these administrative positions. They can be condensed and cut very easily, or closing down a few schools, as Jim Stanley has brought up. That's a lot of money.
Mm-hmm.
And this could have been done a long time ago. These people that we've lost a lot of people. And it wasn't just pay, by the way. It's they don't like the direction that the district is going in. They don't like working under the leadership they have. We have teachers that are beat up by students, elementary school students. They get no support from their administrator at the school, right? So if you have a small child beating you up, they're just like, well, call 911.
Oh. And is that why the Baker acting is happening?
Well, that child in particular wasn't Baker acted. He was playing video games with the administrator after the teacher called 911.
Oh.
He was beating her up and said, if you touch me, you're going to go to jail.
Oh.
So after that, and maybe it was the social emotional training, I'm not sure, but the district or the school administrators decided to play video games with that particular student as a reward for him beating up the teacher.
No, I think it's the conscious discipline where, was it Miss Colleen, or I don't remember, Mrs. Bodwin, who stated, oh, it's okay to be angry. No, it's not.
Here's the rules, right? It's simple. Here's the rules, right? I mean, we need to follow these rules and that's it. But what happened was we gave this kid an exception. We gave this group an exception. We put the special needs kids in with the regular kids.
Mm-hmm.
And they should have been put in classes where there's two teachers to help with, they have legitimate issues. So then they're disrupting the entire class for all the students. And then I know my son, when he was in elementary school, there was some students in there, a few students, one in particular, just disrupted class all the time. They would have to move the kids out. And it would happen almost daily. And I'm just like, this is ridiculous. This kid should not be in with the other kids. And then my son got upset. He says, Mom, every time, if he's good for the day, they come in and give him candy and he eats the candy. I go, in front of you? He goes, yeah, me and the rest of the class. And I'm like, oh, I don't reward my children for doing what's expected of them, which is behaving, right?
Yeah.
So now what have you taught the other kids? Well, if you act up, you get attention. And then when you're good, when you follow the rules like you're supposed to, you get rewarded.
Mm-hmm.
Not everybody parents that way. I know some parents parent that way, but I don't think it wasn't effective for that kid. But he shouldn't be in the same class with the other kids that are following the rules. And so those kids, again, with Browning's bullying thing, those kids go by a separate discipline guideline than the other kids. So who's really going to be punished in this?
All the kids.
Here's the rules. If they can't follow the regular rules, then they shouldn't be in the regular class, right? If there's a legitimate concern, they have they're in some type of a plan, an IEP plan, let them be, Browning took away that, right? We had two teachers in a room that were skilled, they knew how to deal, and it was helpful for those kids, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because you're in an environment where there's that extra support,
mm-hmm.
and they're going to learn and they're going to do very well. And then that went away. We put them in the regular classes, and what ensued?
Leave it to Browning to mess something else up, right?
Well, he had no education experience, right?
Yeah.
He had no education experience, and then so many people say, "Oh, I don't want to run for school board or superintendent because I don't have experience." I'm like, Kurt Browning had zero education experience, just so you know. And they're like, "Oh, people don't know." I said, "Look him up on Wikipedia and just see." And then they go, "Holy crap, I didn't know all this." I said, "Well, but that's why I encourage people to look up themselves. I don't like to just tell people like schools. I encourage people to look up their websites, to look up their information and decide for yourself. Is this truly what the community wants? Look up TNCP, the New Teacher Project. They are actually considered an official with our districts, that they get all of our data and everything on their school official. You don't have to give permission or consent. They can just automatically take your kids' data and yours and share it. They don't need your permission. Kurt Brown did that.
Of course.
And the board. Well, you can't just blame him. The board that approved it, there's 6 people accountable for this. It's not just one. And everybody gets mad at just Browning. And you can't be just mad at Browning. You have to be mad at the other 5.
Mm-hmm.
They're just as accountable. So
well, hopefully, like you said, we'll be able to replace 60% of the school board, and things can change little by little, if anything. So it is getting close to 6 o'clock, so I gotta go. But I had a blast talking with you.
You too, Michelle, as always.
Yes, I feel like we can talk for hours. Like, I could keep going. But I definitely would like you to be on my show again. You're very informative, and I think it's very beneficial for everybody to know what's going on.
I definitely will. Thank you so much, Michelle. It's always fun and informative talking with you.
Yes. Okay. All right. Bye. Have a good night.